Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Help Myself podcast. I am your host, John M. Singletary Sr. For all my people that have been rocking with me, you know why I got to keep that senior in there, because I got a junior, aka LJ, who's my co-pilot. We'll give you a little story back behind that. When we started the podcast, one of my concerns was trying to figure out a time when I could record and do everything maybe when he wasn't around. And then one of my good friends said, hey, that's a part of your story. Y'all have an amazing life together, so you might as well allow your son to be a part of it. So here at the Help Myself podcast, I'm your host, and my co-host is my 15-year-old nonverbal autistic son who is the light of my life. And so it's just a pleasure and a privilege. And tonight is only the third time in the history of me having my Facebook account that I've ever gone live. But it's for a good reason. I have the privilege of hosting a collective of gentlemen. They are all forces of nature, and I've said it many times. And so what we're doing tonight is shop talk. Real men, no agenda, real talk. And tonight we are really going to be chopping some heavy wood, man. We're going to be talking about some serious things, and we look forward to your input. We look forward to really sharing some things that will positively impact you. And so before we get started, let me introduce these gentlemen that I have the privilege to share the platform with tonight. And let me begin with the man who I feel like is the tie that binds us all together. The conversations with him that got this started is none other than brother Tony Watts. He's a certified life coach, a clinician. He's the host of Triumphant TV. He's a man of God and a lover of mankind, and he is my brother. And so we're glad to have him on the show. Next, we have Derek Jones. He is a certified life coach, certified relationship coach, and he is the host of the Relationship Gumbo podcast. Man, you got to figure out what kind of ingredients you're cooking with. Got to have the right ingredients. So we're glad to have him here. Then we have a man, I said force of nature. Let me tell you something. This brother here, the energy, he's got the power, is none other than Rick Gunner Man Gunner. He's the owner, MC, motivational speaker on love, life, living, relationships. And he is the host of Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. And let me tell you something. He's like any of y'all old fans of basketball. He's like Vinny the Microwave Johnson. He come in instant offense. So we are glad to have him on tonight. And last but not least, man, who I feel like is really the center of the emotional intelligence that really bring. Listen, when this man talks, you got to pull out your notepad because he's going to drop some gems on you. None other than Tony Massey. He's an author, motivational speaker, radio host. Tony Massey speaks. Tony Massey cooks. Tony Massey does it. He is not a lion. He is a man.
Right, that's right.
Gentlemen, it is so good to have you, man. I'm ready to get some shop talk started. I'm ready to dive into this. And tonight, we are talking about how men view love. How men view love. And so we were having some conversations in the background, and we were having bets on who's going to be the first person to cry.
Tony Watts.
Man's with thumb. It's in reverse.
Well, yeah, let me see. That way. There we go. But this is a serious topic, how we view love, and there's so many. I'm excited on what direction this might go, but just to kind of start the conversation up, man, how men view love. How do men view love, gentlemen, in reference to our responsibilities? And let's start with brother Tony Watts, man. How do you view love in reference to responsibility?
Well, I'm pretty mad at you that you picked me first for this one, but we're gonna go ahead and do it anyway. That's a good question, man. Since we came to figure out this particular topic, I've been wrestling this love thing in my head, and I'm at a real tough place right now, like because when we look at love and what we think love is, right, and how we've been telling ourselves all this time what love looks like. Man, listen, like y'all said, I might need to get off the screen a couple of times But as far as what responsibility is, love makes you do all the things that you don't want to do. The responsibility of love is going to make you do all the things you do not want to do. Um, like when you talk about, from a religious aspect, you have to look at the cross. When Christ died for you, he knew that you was going to do everything you wanted to do anyway. He knew he was going to have that sin. He knew that you was going to deny him. He knew. He told Peter before they walked out of the upper room for the Last Supper, you will deny me tonight 3 times. But he went to the cross anyway, and that's what love and responsibility is: going the long mile anyway, knowing that your kid is not going to listen to your kid's going to go out and not come home. But when they call you to say come pick them up, you're not leaving them out in the street. Your girlfriend might be on some real different stuff, and she might go out and not come home or not call you. And you gotta balance that as do I really love her or do I let her be who she is? This thing is real heavy. This is a real heavy conversation. So that's where I'm at with it. The responsibility of love is heavy than I think we really want to deal with right now. Like it's not selfish. There's no selfishness and no responsibility of that.
Man, I like that answer, man. And when you talk about love, there's obviously a positive aspect to responsibility and how we view love as far as a responsibility, but there's a negative aspect to it too. And I think every which way that we can look at how we view love, there's a positive way that we can engage and there's a negative way that we can engage, And so when we talk about how we view love, and I'm excited because it's going to be a lot of various deals. They've been giving me the business. And I don't know why. I'm not the only single brother on the panel, so I don't know why y'all giving me all this. I'm not calling nobody else out, but I'm just saying I ain't the onlyest one. But Gunner, man, you got something for us, brother?
When I think about responsibility, am I answering the right question? Or responsibility as the man, to show up and to keep showing up. That's the first thing that comes to mind, to have the great ability to show up and remain present, because that's hard. It's hard not to drag your old relationships into your new. It's hard not to think about what they did wrong the last time you had an argument. But as the guy, as I call the keeper of the peace, the peacekeeper in the relationship, my job is to show up and to spot the ripples, to spot the negative ripples, and then know and learn how to address the situation. See, I believe that love is something more than just simply what you do. I believe that you are love. I believe you already come with the level of love that you need. So when you look for the opportunities to connect with someone, you're not trying to look to them to give you love. You're just mainly looking for opportunities to reveal your love, to share your love, to display your love, and to afford them the same privilege and opportunity to do the same, to let them be who they are, so you can gather the right amount of data to find out how far can you go with this love. So as the peacekeeper, my mindset is to get into a relationship and collect data, figure out how she operates, how she responds, how she feels about particular things, what's her pet peeves, because it's my ability to share my thoughts, my concerns, my longings, my likes, my dislikes in a way that she can receive them, not just being able to say, I'm keeping it real, so I'm gonna tell you how I feel the way I feel it. No. Love is you being able to take the moment out, to pay attention, to concentrate, and to learn how to best serve it up so she can receive it, and then hopefully do something with it when she gets the information. So when I think about the responsibility, mine is the overseer, the leader, the guider, the vision setter, the one who sets the vision. I believe that's where I am with regarding like the man's duty, the response of the man regarding love.
Man, I appreciate y'all letting me hijack it. Like talking about responsibility, because and I kind of just wanted to open that up just to kind of get the conversation going. But I think about responsibility because a couple of weeks ago I posted, hey, what's y'all's opinion on love? Is it something more that you feel or is it something more that you do? And me and Tony Watts, man, we had a conversation probably a month ago or so, and that was really the gist of our conversation. We were talking about when people talk about unrequited love. So I sent my love out to somebody else and it didn't come back. But you know, when you look at Corinthians, it doesn't talk about love waits until you love it back. It doesn't say anything about that. It says it's patient, it's kind, it's long suffering. It doesn't seek its own. It's not boastful. All of these things. And so we got to that talking about how love is who you are and it's something that you do. And my my personal opinion, I'm about that action, boss. If I love you, you're gonna know I love you because I'm gonna be doing something. But that's not always a positive thing because, you know, I'll be transparent. Sometimes I fall in the trap of believing that if I'm not doing, then I'm not worthy of love. And so that's the other side of it that's difficult to deal with is that, oh, if I can't do, then you don't see me as somebody worth loving. And we've got to be careful with that because, you know, I don't care what you're going through or what you're still healing from or wherever you find yourself. We are all worthy to be loved. So it's important how we view love because how we view love oftentimes determines how we can receive love.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
And y'all feel free to jump in. I don't want to feel like I'm dominating the conversation. Yeah, come on,
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in real quick. And it's just to kind of be tangential to what the other with all the other gentlemen that spoke said. But for me, it's more when you talk about responsibility as a man. First and foremost, it's my duty to even understand what it means to me. And then when it comes off of me, when I give love, when I show love, it's almost like when people say your word is your bond. It like you got to honor what you say you're gonna do. You got to honor the love that you give and know that it comes from a place of integrity, from a place of you know, like you said earlier. I think John was saying about not expecting anything back, but when you do give it, it has to come from an honest place, or else it's phony. And I think when we're honest with our love, when it's pure and it's coming from your heart, it's coming from a good place, then we can't expect anything back, but we know that what we gave was honest and we can walk away and feel like we've served that purpose in that moment, whether it's a relationship, whether it's with our kids, because we all know when your kids ain't doing what you want them to do, you love them through it. And you're doing it kind of selflessly because you know that it's coming from a place of honesty. And if we're not honest about it, and there's a lot of people who claim the word and don't know where it's coming from, and they're saying it to try to get a reaction out of someone or try to make someone else feel a certain way when it should come from here. And so I think for me, that's where it comes from, being responsible. It's almost like giving someone as a man, especially it's just like giving your word. Like if you don't stand behind it, then it's not worth anything. So that's my little piece.
Look at that. Dope discussions with Erica podcast. Do we feel that love is a choice, a feeling, or a combination of both? Who wants to jump in on that one?
Wait, before we do that, we have to have the Tony Massey give his
I've been waiting, bro. I've been waiting, man.
You know what I mean?
Don't listen to all the haters, Tony, that have been telling you not to talk. We want to hear from you. Forget the haters.
No, I mean, you know, it's funny. I just went through this in my own life. I think that part of understanding love from a male perspective is understanding that men view love very differently than women do. And it's biblical. There's nowhere in the Bible where a woman is charged, asked, commissioned, directed to love her husband. Right. The word that is used is respect, because that's how men receive love. But we have to understand that that's not the best way to give love. If you're talking about loving a woman, you have to love her in a very different way that goes beyond the boundaries of what we call respect. And so, you know, when a woman loves, you know, you have to give her not permission, but allowance, meaning you have to give her the space to love you. And that may mean you have to surrender who you are as an individual, to allow her love to permeate who you become as a husband or as a mate. For instance, giving up things that were perfectly okay when you were single, but now are not okay. And I'm not talking about the obvious things. I'm talking about just lifestyle things. Here's someone who loves you and wants to be a part of your life. And so they start to make changes in your life, your diet or, exercise, things like that, all in the name of not trying to make you look better, but because they want to extend the opportunity, the time that they have to love you. And sometimes that can be viewed in a way that men kind of push back, like, you can't tell me what to do. But it's not me telling you what to do. It's me trying to prolong the opportunity to love you. And so, again, it's like, we have to understand as men that we don't love in the same way that we receive it. I love every man on this panel. And so because of that, I would always be respectful of every man on this panel. And that's the way we display love to one another. But when it comes to women, that's not enough. It can't just be enough about respect. It has to go beyond that and love the way she wants to be loved. The last thing I'll say is, love for a man is not a very easy thing. It's a difficult thing, because before love can exist, vulnerability has to exist. And we kind of talked about this last week, so I don't want to go backwards. But it is very difficult for a man to love in spaces that he doesn't feel safe being vulnerable. And so if a man is not giving love, it could be one that he just doesn't know how. He's never been loved. He's never seen what that looks like. He doesn't know what that feels like. Or two, he's afraid, because once you go beyond that threshold, there's no coming back. And women know, once you give them the passcode, they can either take you to the next level or they can destroy you with their words. And that can be very scary for a man, especially if he's been there, done that. So how do men view love? As an opportunity, but also a terrifying event?
Absolutely terrifying, man. It's amazing how when you begin to love a woman and she starts to come into your space, man, all of a sudden more pillows appear on the couches and on the beds. All of these towels in the bathrooms. No, but wow, that's spot on, man. That's spot on. So, Tony Watts, do I have permission to go to the comments now? Do I have your blessing, sir?
Hey, man, this is your show.
Hey, this is our show. This is our show, man. I don't want this show to be capped off by me, man. So don't take me out that. This is our show. But again, Dope Discussions with Erica podcast. Do men feel that love is a choice, a feeling, or a combination of both?
I would jump in and say it's a combination of both. And what Tony said was so excellent about men understanding how to be vulnerable. Like he said, the last conversation we had, and you guys go check that out, about fathers not being around. And so if you didn't have anybody to show you how to be vulnerable, how do you connect with that space? How do you understand what that looks like? How do you sit down in that situation where you have to be vulnerable with someone? Because sometimes when it hurts, you got to be vulnerable to really talk that out, instead of going in your shell or going to your boys to go hide somewhere and do some destructive things to let the feelings out. Vulnerability is also sitting down, understanding what the vulnerability is, sitting in it for a minute, understanding what it feels like, where it came from. So if you can't do that, right, you will have a hard time loving yourself. So how are you going to love anybody else? So what Tony said is very important, and I thank Erica for that question, because it's pretty powerful. It has to be a combination of both. We have to get in touch with the choices that we make. In retrospect, also in combination with the feelings that we have. Because a lot of people nowadays fall in love with the feeling of love.
Yeah.
I love you because you make me feel good. You bring me my potato chips, the ones I like. You wear my favorite color. So I'm loving that. That's not love. That's just somebody's giving you something to take care of your senses. Like that feeling part and understanding what that really is. Because a lot of people get in trouble right now Oh, I love, and just because we're grown men, so is it sexual, and the sex is amazing, right? A lot of people equate that with love. No, that's just a great feeling. That's an amazing feeling that you're having. But when you take that and you look at it as it's such a great feeling, but now I can take this graveyard of red flags and put them over here, because when we do that, everything is perfect, and maybe I can drag this into our normal lives. No, you can't, because you guys are not compatible. You guys have got to know the sexual part of yourselves without getting to know the love and understanding and what's really going on. So I would say to Erica, they're a combination of both.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I want to jump in real like for 2 seconds. Well, more than 2 seconds. But here's the thing too that we as men have to be honest about when we talk about the feeling part of it that Tony Watts just talked about. I think a lot of us, because we are not we're not the most vulnerable, we're not the most emotional, and we kind of shut that off, that we will sometimes claim love for the benefit of the woman. And it's really just about a feeling for us. We want to keep feeling like this. So let me go ahead and just say it so she don't go nowhere. And I think at that point, it's not really an honest choice. It's a decision you're making just to make sure someone doesn't leave. But do you really feel that you're going to love this person, or are you, or know that it comes from that honest place that I talked about earlier, or are you just saying it just as a kind of a space holder to keep someone there in your face because it feels good? Or to Tony Watts' point, the sex is good, so if I don't want to lose the sex, I gotta. Y'all remember that movie Thin Line Between Love and Hate, and he had to say it, right? And then you a lot of times will end up in a predicament you never wanted to be in because you just threw that out there. So it loses the value for a lot of people, especially those of us men. And just because this is a men's show, that refuse to be emotional and vulnerable, but still utter the words love, you got to kind of know where it's coming from. So I yield the mic.
Yeah, I too believe that it's a choice and it's a feeling. It comes into the play regarding choice when you got to figure out if the person aligns with is in alignment with you. You know, you can feel all that you can feel, but if their presence or their ways of being continues to rub you wrong regarding the core needs of you. You know, everyone has their set of core needs, the things that without exception, if I'm going to move forward with this woman, these things have to not only feel right, but be right. You know, like for myself, one of the questions someone asks is like, what do you look for in a mate? Because you're saying, for myself is that I want someone who loves God, you know, above all these other rules and regulations that come into a relationship. I want someone that not only loves God, but is open to learn the truths and to discuss it and to detail it. Someone that is already chasing after God, following after God, being led by God before I will even get too serious. Like I shared in a post that I want someone that's more than just fun, you know, more than just simple fun. You mean, okay, so I'm going to feel the way I feel. And I know that feeling has gotten me in years and years and years of trouble because I would chase after that feeling. Oh, I would chase after good sex. I would chase after that for a long time. But I know the core of me kept feeling empty because I was ignoring the red flags that I saw just to keep that what I was enjoying. So in truth, when you're ready to find the real relationship, when you're ready to really connect, because like we say in our very first show, this show is for people who are serious about trying to build relationships. This isn't those, if you want to still be playing the field, this show ain't for you. This show is not for you. This is for people who really want to get down to the core truth of who you are and how to get those needs met and to how to connect and to find someone and align with them, to find out what's proper alignment. What does that actually mean to you? Like, what do you need to come into your space that's going to allow you to know to move forward? These are one of the things that we kind of bounce around because we're like, we only know we know. We only know the things that we know. So what is alignment? What is that to her? And being able to discuss it and to detail it out and find out how she responds to things. Is she responsible, not responsible? This thing takes time. These things take time. And dating, as I say over and over again, dating is about what? Gathering data. You want to gather data to pay attention, to figure out, is it more than just the feelings? Because that's the thing that's gonna define if it's love. It's gonna last. That something more than just simply feelings. It's you choosing to say, hey, I want to move forward with you. And then, as Derek said, your word is your bond. Stick with it. Show up. Be that type of man that's gonna to mean what he say and say what he means.
Man, what can be added to that? I mean, I totally believe or agree with everything that's been said. I mean, it absolutely is a choice. And sometimes I think it's important to extract love from purely a romantic relationship perspective. Because I think about those cold mornings when my son was crying in the middle of the night and I had to pick up my baby and walk across that cold kitchen floor to make that bottle and sit up in the middle of the night when I had to be to work the next day at 7:30. And that didn't feel good at all. And if I would have had a choice, I would have rather stayed in bed and still been asleep. But I chose love because I love my son. And so I do believe we have to choose it. And my brother Ray Sorrell, man, he put a comment on there. It was up there for a minute. What if you don't know what's real love? I think sometimes we have to and not direct response, but it just triggered a thought. A lot of times we'll not understand that people communicate their love in different ways. If you're not aware of the 5 love languages, man, you got to get on it because it talks about it. And a lot of times what'll happen is somebody is communicating love to you in the way that they know how, and you're trying to receive it in the way that you know how, and y'all just aren't. It doesn't mean that one doesn't love the other, but sometimes, like acts of service. If I do something for you, that's me saying I love you. But somebody might be words of affirmation. That doesn't really do a lot for me. So you could be complimenting me and I just be like, man, what do they want? They need a favor, so, because it's not the way I receive love or how I communicate it. So, we've got to be clear on that. But brothers, how as men, I'm not trying to get in trouble here, but when we talk about love and how we view love, man, somebody want to jump in there and just kind of talk about the things that make them really feel loved?
I'd love to take this one. And I think that part is so important. Feeling love and experiencing it and feeling like you are, because love is a very interesting word. It's a noun, but it's also a verb. And sometimes the noun part we get, but the verb part, we kind of lose sight of that. And as men, we have to, and I'm not talking about men not actively loving women. I'm talking about men not communicating how they need to be actively loved. The question that Ray asked was a very good one. How do you know love if you've never felt it? And there are a lot of men out there who just have never felt love. They've given love, or at least the version that they believe is love, or their perception of what love is, but they've never really experienced it. They've experienced sex. They've experienced fidelity. They've experienced, somebody who wanted to, be down for them or whatever. But have you ever experienced love to the point where there's no doubt in your mind that this is good, this improves me, this puts me in a position that's greater than what I was before? The real question about, choice is not really about choosing to be in love, but it's choosing to stay in love, because love is not always great. Sometimes love sucks. Sometimes you are torn by love. And John, your example is a great example of that, because love, is the thing that moves you forward. Like Halle Berry said in Boomerang, love should have brought your ass home last night, because that's what love does. Love helps you prioritize yourself. Love directs you in spaces that normally you wouldn't go into. That's why I never worry about being called a simp, because I'm loving my wife. And if you've never really loved anyone the way I love her, or you've never really experienced love in the way that I experience, to you from the outside looking in, it may look like that. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about something that I'm going through, right? I'm not going to argue with you about whether or not it's raining while I'm getting wet. That's ridiculous. So from your perspective, from your vantage point, yes, this looks like simping. This looks like pandering. This looks like I'm just letting her walk all over me. But what you don't understand is in the midnight hour, and those moments that I feel the most vulnerable, those moments that I feel fear. Last night was 4th of July, which is one of my most hated holidays because I suffer from PTSD. And fireworks sound exactly like small arm fires and mortar rounds, exactly like. And so my brain is literally going through this tug of war between reality and memories. And in that moment, when I'm embraced and told it's okay, at 3 o'clock in the morning, she's tired, I'm tired, I'm jumping like but I'm experiencing love, not in the embrace, but the willingness to be uncomfortable with me, even when you can't fix it. That to me is love. Love is not fixing problems. Love is being in the moment while the problems exist. Love is being able to tear down those walls of manhood and masculinity and just be, because you know this person is not going to look at you and laugh at you and all these other things. Love is being broke together. Love is being rich together. Love is something that is it can't be quantified in one, simple sentence. If you've never felt it before, then what am I trying to say? If you've never felt love before, then the next time you get the opportunity to feel love, try to feel the opposite of what you felt when you didn't feel it. When you were ready to run, when you were ready to give up, when you were ready to walk away, when you were ready to say this doesn't feel good, stick it out, because love is going to keep you in uncomfortable positions or situations for the long term. That's what love is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna jump in here real quick before I forget what he said. When you just said something that was so powerful, and please, I want everybody please to take out a pen and pad and write this down. Love is being uncomfortable with somebody even when you can't do nothing. Do you understand what that means? I can't help you. I can't make that go away, but I'm here for you right now. In this moment, I'm giving you everything I got. And everything I got won't help you. But just me being there, quiet or talking, takes care of you, warms you, touches you, and says you're not alone. Are you ready to challenge those things? Because right now, the world that we live in are telling women, if he ain't paying the bills, he don't love you. If he don't come with the Birkin bag, he don't. Do you guys have no idea what this love thing is? No idea. So when what he said was, it might be the most impactful thing that's going to be said tonight. Being able to be uncomfortable with somebody, even when there's nothing you can do about it. I need you to sit with that for a minute, because it's very important. It's very important. We must begin to understand as well. When you talk about when he asked the question about how do you know love, if you've never felt it before, you felt it before. You just don't know what it was.
There it is.
Right, because you have a clear idea of what you don't like.
Right, you felt it before. You just don't know what it was. It might have been something that you felt and you felt uncomfortable with it because it's something you've never felt before. It's something that you've never experienced. So what I would ask you to do is evaluate, and this is something people must do. You must have self-evaluation, right? Evaluate the things that make you feel really good just because they're there. Evaluate those things and say, why do I like this thing so much? Why does this particular thing not bring me happiness, but brings me joy? Right. There's a difference between joy and happiness.
Inside job.
Right. So when you begin to see those things, you will get to understand what love is. And you'll begin to self-examine yourself. And I also behoove all men out there, if you don't have a friend that you can sit down and talk to, a patriarch, a matriarch, someone that you can sit down and really have a conversation to work through your feelings, go get a therapist. You need to work through these things. You need to be able to identify them. Because a lot of times we're feeling love and we're running from it because we don't know what it is.
Or we don't feel worthy of it.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There it is. Yeah. Let me say something too, real quick to that too. When you see people, men that you feel like they're displaying and showing love to their significant other, their kids or whatever, what we have to realize, and this is kind of answering that question a little bit about if you've never seen it. Sometimes you never see it, and this is kind of a slight piggyback, is because you've never allowed yourself to be in a space where most men are taught not to be, right?
There you go.
You have to be, even if you're not completely vulnerable, it takes a level of vulnerability to yield certain parts of you to another person. If you are incapable of doing that, you probably won't ever be in that space. And that's why, to Tony Watt's point, sometimes we may need to sit down and talk to somebody so that we can peel back the layers of why you will not let anyone close enough for you to accept and or give love. Because sometimes when people say things like, I've never seen it, I've never felt it, you've had probably women in your life that would probably walk through fire for you. And because you weren't ready to receive it, you was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I don't know why she's doing all this stuff. And so we would say things like, I never felt it before. So we have to, as men, we have to know that in order for us to be better for ourselves, for our partners, for our kids, that we have to take off that, like, when you are really in love, you put the sword and the shield down and know that you are safe in the company of your family, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever it is, and you can still be strong. The sword and the shield, they right there on the floor, but you don't have to carry it all the time because it gets heavy, right? And once we are able to let that guard down, and you know that person that's sitting across from you got you like that, that's where that's where it lives.
Yeah.
So and Derek, can you speak on? Can real quick, Derek, can you speak on what happens when you put the sword and shield down, when that was a part of your identity, right?
Man, yeah.
Carrying that sword and shield was a part. Being that warrior, that's how you identified yourself. And now you don't only have to put it down and feel safe. Now you also have to be okay with who you are without it. Can you speak on that real quick?
Yeah, I always talk about this because, you know, when you're on the other side of what we've been, and we've talked about this slightly before in past shows, but when you get to a point where that sword and that shield has to be a part of your identity because we're socialized that way, because we get kudos for being that way. And for those people that out there will see you being vulnerable and calling you a simp, like Tony's been probably called this. I've been called a simp too, because I yielded because I got down on one knee. I'm a simp. So it's kind of one of those things where when you out in these streets, you gotta be ready. Because there's other people out there that you got to protect your family. You got to protect yourself. We have to wear that as men. And I know women go through a lot, but it's a part of how we have to show up every day. And when you peel that off because you're in a relationship and you're telling someone that you love them, it's a scary place to be, because it's almost kind of like, you know, when you see these movies and you have these robots and they're programmed a certain way, and then they start learning stuff and they start veering off, and it looks crazy because the robot is bucking its programming. It's turning into something more than just a robot that's just programmed to do one or two things. It's becoming alive, right? It starts to feel. And once it starts to feel, people start looking at it like it's crazy. Like, why they not doing the same thing that the other robots are doing? We're not robots.
Yeah.
Newsflash, men, we're not robots, even though we're programmed to be that way. And we have to come out of that in order for us to give our women, our children, our families the type of love that they deserve to get from us. So else we gonna check out of here, whatever age, 150, whatever age you check out of here, and you'll really never know what it is to bond in that way. So
yeah, that's powerful stuff. You know, when you talk about the sword and the shield, you got to think about it. When you're a kid, a boy growing up, what do they tell you? Go outside and play. Go outside and play. For the girl was what? Here's some dolls, play house, learn how to cook. So how do you take that go outside and play, which to us men is a competition? Because in sports, don't you mess with me, because I'm coming with the game. You name a sport, I'm winning that. So you go from that being that competitive. It's not about the love of the game you could have, but the love of the opponent. You're trying to take that opponent out. So then when you get into a relationship, what does arguments become? A competition instead of right. It's like, how is that a competition? Because no, stop. She's been taught to play house, tell her feelings, show some love and appreciation for caring for the kid and stuff. So how do you go from being out there playing, giving a bat and a ball or a basketball or a football to go play? How do you turn that off and now say, okay, well, I'm supposed to now be the homemaker. I'm now supposed to be the one hoping and sharing and building and maybe not nurturing, but leading and guiding and directing. You know, how do you go from all that sword and shield in your hand, ready to win all the time, to now saying, how do I now care for another in a way that I haven't been taught? I have not been taught to do this, but in ways you've seen it. If you've been blessed with a parent or parents that have showed you genuine love, you know what that feels like. Especially, say, if you have a higher power, read the word and find out how God loved people and learn that way. You know, because how to love his way, as John Singletary said in the very beginning, that's 1 Corinthians 13 verses 4-8. Read and understand that you could do all this romantic type of love, but that ain't what love is. Love is kindness in the response of hardship, patience in the midst of words and things being done over and over again, not the way you prefer it. Long suffering, dealing with and figuring out how to nurture that person in a better way. That's that long suffering. You got to figure that out. And then it talks about love being no longer holding score, keeping score of the wrongs being done to you. Who does that? Who does that? What? You mad? You crazy? What? Forget that. Now, I can tell you for myself, it's a difficult task because of my ability to remember. My ability to remember is the thing, because I can walk into a room and I can do an event, and in an hour's time, I can memorize 150 people's names, and I can remember specific details about what they shared with me and stuff. So now when you wrong me, oh my goodness, you think that's just going to fade into the background? No, it's going to be replayed over and over and over again. So how do I go from a place that I'm going to remember that, and now I'm going to dare to share my heart after you treat me that way? But you always have to tell yourself, and when I do my seminars or my life coaching, you always have to remember the other person isn't you. Yeah. And understanding that's like a hug that I give myself from God, and the allowance that I give to the other person to say, be yourself. And we'll walk. When it's wrong for me, we'll talk about it. We're not going to yell about it. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to allow you the platform to share why you did what you did, why you think the way you think, because sometimes you're going to learn how you were operating. You remember, as we shared last week, I can't see me. I have never been on the other side of me to know what to date me is like. I don't have a clue what it is to date me. So what I have to do is lend myself to her emotions and her responses and her ways of seeing me, and tell me about me. What rubbed you wrong? What did I do? Or is it your own insecurities? And then what can I do and learn about you to comfort those things? Not that I provide your need. That's not my job. My job is not to meet your need. My job is to align myself with the things that you may want, but God is your sufficiency in all things. He's going to meet your priority. I'm going to be that added bonus to the life of joy, happiness, and peace that you are already living. So I don't have that responsibility. That's why I talked about in the beginning that I'm already love. I'm already love. God is love. And if God in Christ is inside of me, then I'm already loved too. So I'm not looking for you to provide me with love, but I'm looking for you to build me, to guide me, to lead me sometimes, to structure me, to take over sometimes, to remind me of the good that exists in the world, to remind me of the greatness that you have seen in the past, to point out the things that I no longer see because I'm so focused on me being messed up in some things. The other person not being me affords me all these comforts where I don't have to keep the guard, the shield, and the sword up in my hand. No, it doesn't. I can lay that down. I can lay that down because I want to learn what is it? How am I operating? What's coming out of my mouth? What facial expressions are you seeing in me that's now going to allow you and cause you to be the way you are? Which is, if we're butting heads, it has to be explained. It has to be shared. It has to be expressed. I just can't take my way as being the right way. My timing of things can't be the only way things can be done properly. And that's why I tell people over and over again, the greatest gift you can give yourself is to travel. I know it's a little different from our conversation, but the travel is those who have traveled the globe knows that your way of thinking isn't the only way to think. So I do my military guys. I know you get into those circles and like this world is operating. This place is operating without even knowing that I exist right now. And that's humbling, but it allows you to see the greatness that can be found in a relationship if you keep the mindset that the other person isn't me. So no matter how much I support, no matter how many times I show up, no matter how many times I do the do right, I do the do right. It doesn't matter. She's never, ever going to always think, feel, address, and solve situations just like me. So you got to have the freedom to let her be her and then gather the data and find out if that's in alignment with you.
Okay, let's give him a round of applause for taking over the show, right? That's the stuff. We're going to wrap up and get out of here now. He's explaining it all across the board.
I know every bit of that.
5 superstars. Jordan Gunther, man, just hit the 3-pointer. We out of here.
Just shoot.
We out of here.
Not like, guys, the thing is that I live it. I'm living it now.
Yeah.
So it's so very real. Like if you could feel the goosebumps on my arms, it's like I'm living it. I'm fighting it. I'm struggling with it. I'm reminding myself of it because the me that I see at times is not the me that I want to be.
Nope.
Can I say that again?
Yes, please.
You know, the me that I see isn't always the me that I want to be. And
right.
The me that I want to be is the one that the word talks about. Is how I'm beautifully and wonderfully made, that I have this power because God through Christ has made me worthy. He's already fought the battle for me to stand and withstand against the evil one in the midst of any dark, crooked, and perverse nation, all that stuff. I can still stand and withstand. And that's even without a shield and sword in my hand. And God has made me that type of man.
Yes, sir. Listen, so this goes to a question that came up. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. I think he popped it up real quick. I think Royal Queen put it up. What do men want? See, the problem with your question is too broad. You asking for an answer from men, and that means everybody. Each and every person on this particular panel wants something different. So you have to find out what the man you're dealing with wants. Stop asking that question, what do men want? Because we are all different. We are not monolithic. We are different. So what I want, what brings me love and joy, is like John said at the beginning, learning love languages, right, is important. Because if my love language is acts of service and your love language is touch, we have to find out what that is so we can meet in that space. All men don't have that same love language. So asking for what men want, you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's like asking what the supermarket got.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and real quick, Tony Massey, because I'm definitely gonna throw you the mic. I'm gonna throw it to you like with football. So here's a real quick, like 60 seconds. You got to know who you are and what you want. So when that person comes along that fits that, then you find out what he wants. So it's the same thing, just said a different way. Tony Massey, it's all yours.
You threw at me a ball that you already scored with. No, I agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. The better question is, what do you want? Because here's the thing: when my needs are met, then it's easier for me to give that which I did not plan to give in the first place. You can ask me for anything if you're giving me everything, right? But I have to know what it is that I want first. And there's so many of us, both men and women, we enter into relationships wanting what we see other people have, only to find out that's not what I want. Or worse, wanting what we perceive other people have. And we end up with, and this is why when I hear people give conversation or give relationship advice, and they say you have to be this, and that in order for a man to want you, then that is bad advice. Because like Tony Watts said, we're not monolithic. We don't all want the same thing. I'm sorry, we just don't. The five of us, if we were all to go and be given permission to build the perfect woman, we'd all use different parts. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about what men want. It's about what the man that you are receiving from, what does he want? Because one of the hardest things about being in a relationship, and Gunter Man said this so eloquently, is really coming into that moment of zen, that moment of realization, oh my God, you're not me. And it changes everything. Like he said, when you realize that all this time I've been saying I love you, and you haven't been hearing it, because that's not how you receive love. You receive love through acts of service, through quality time, or whatever. So I'm speaking to you, but you're not hearing me. And I'm getting frustrated because you're not hearing me. You're getting frustrated because I'm not saying what you want to hear. And we just get into this thing. At some point, we have to ask one another, what do you want? And I think that, dating, collecting data, I love it. What do you want? And it's a question you got to ask yourself first before you accept anybody's phone number, before you go on any dates, because knowing what you want will make this process so much easier, because as soon as you meet what you don't want, you can politely say no. And like I've said this so many times for the men who are single out there, no from a woman is a gift. It is a gift that you should receive graciously. What she's saying to you is, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. I don't want to waste your resources. And I don't want to play with your emotions. So no, thank you. I'm not interested in you. Thank her and walk away.
Amen.
She's doing you a favor. I promise you.
When you talk about love languages, just so you guys can keep a mental note, women and men, the percentage, the chances of you matching love languages with the person you fall for is slim to none. It's very rare for two love languages that match. Love languages: physical touch, acts of service, quality time. What am I missing? Gift giving and words of affirmation. Those 5 things. So when you connect with someone, their love language more than likely will not match yours. And that's where communication comes in. You got to be able to. Now, here's another thing when it comes to love languages, because what I tell my clients is, how do you operate from that place of love languages? So you're teaching the other person how to serve you. So often when we say we want what we want, but then we don't set people up to give us what we want. We're complaining about how they do things, but yet we haven't set up an environment where we're acting and serving and doing things from the place of our love language, so the person can clearly know what to do regarding what blesses you.
And when it comes to love languages, understand that the best you're going to get is conversational speech. They may never become fluent. They may not conjugate their verbs correctly. They may not pronounce everything correctly. The best you're going to get is a broken conversation, and that's got to be okay. If your love language is as words of affirmation and you're loving someone who's acts of service, then in that acts of service, you may have to hear, I love you. And they may not be able to break it down poetically and elegantly and with a long soliloquy. The best they may do is, I love you. And that has to be Shakespeare to your ears. We cannot expect people to do things that they're not capable of doing. And on the other side of that, the goal should be to practice loving their person the way they want to be loved. Stop forcing them to accept things from you that they don't want. Stop doing that. There's nothing at this point in our lives. There's nothing wrong with asking, what do you want for Christmas? Because the last thing I want to do is go out and spend all this money on something you don't want or something I wanted you to have only for you to be disappointed. I learned this the hard way. I have a list of things that my wife likes. And when it's time for gift buying, I go to my list, I buy things off the list. And she's gracious and acts like, oh my God, how did you know? She knows. It's on the list.
but
I'm not wasting time.
He set himself up for success.
Right. But I'm not wasting time or money giving her things that she doesn't want. And it's the same way with love. How do you want to be loved? Well, what is it that I can do or say to make you hear definitively, I love you? Well, I just want you to spend time with me. Boom. That's what I'll do.
Boom. Well, also part of the gift is that unexpected gift at the unexpected time has always been a winner too. So don't always work off of the list. Utilize the things that she said and expressed outside of the list. So with that unexpected gift at the unexpected time is an amazing display of love. Go ahead, John. Talk to me.
I don't know, brother man. He married. We single, so I don't know.
If I buy something she don't want, I'm gonna be like, Gunnerman told me.
John, John, you made it perfect. So real quick, what I want to interject here real quick is what Tony did. What it's doing is something that's fantastic, right? I hear a lot of people go, well, I'm tired of meeting somebody because I got to learn their favorite color and da-da-da-da-da-da. What Tony did was he learned what she likes and what she does not like. He went a step further and made a list of things that will make his wife happy. This is not only for a wife. This is for somebody that you're dating as well. Make that list. It's not a bad thing to make a list. When you go to work, right, your boss tells you he needs a certain amount of things done in a certain amount of time, right? You make a list of what that is because you want to keep your job. So Tony's keeping his job. Tony's making sure that he's got the requirements that his boss needs to keep her happy.
Wait, guys! I wasn't kicking the list. I got your wife like, no, I ain't kicking the list. I'm talking about adding to the list. How can you go wrong with adding to the list? The list is fantastic, but you're not adding to the list, is what I'm saying.
Y'all see how he saved himself there? He went in.
Look, like I said, I'm living this.
I don't know.
Yeah, so as the other married dude or the on here, that's how it is, because when we think and we lean to how we think or feel and make assumptions and come back with that assumption and we be happy with that thing, and they be like,
what's this?
Nah. and once that happens a couple of times, you don't go there.
Have you not been listening to me?
That's not it.
Well, and that's how it
that one, boy.
Here, honey, I bought you a spatula.
Right, but that's how it relates to love too. We sometimes we walk into new relationships bringing all of the old relationship with us, and we think, okay, all I have to do is not do what I did in the past relationship, and everything will be okay in this one. You got to take into consideration you're dealing with a whole different person. All of the stuff you did in the past relationship may be perfect for this relationship. It may be that you were just doing the right thing with the wrong person. And this is why communication is so important. We just have to get to the point where we get away from the fantasy. I mean, I love the idea of the Love Jones movie and meeting the right person and everything is clicking and you're saying the right things and then you fall madly in love. I always said the problem with fairy tales is the end, and they lived happily ever after. If I was to write a fairy tale, it would end this way, and they lived. because happiness isn't guaranteed. You know what I mean? And it's not going to always last. Sometimes you have to love each other from smile to smile and survive in between time. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that's when it gets really difficult. But as men, especially, and ladies, I want you to understand this. When it comes to love, respect is key. You got to remember, both parties have to remember who you're talking to. You gotta make the effort to fight fair. You got to understand that the argument that and Gunter, you nailed it when you talked about how men look at relationships or just life as opposed to women. If the five of us were about to play a game, the first thing we want to know is, what are the rules? The second thing we want to know is, how do you win? And throughout the game, no matter what the game is, we're going to all at some point ask, what's the score? Because those are the things that we have been brought up to focus on. The rules, how do you win, and what's the score? But you can't go into a relationship like that. It doesn't work that way. You can't focus on the rules because they change. What worked in the beginning of your relationship doesn't work in the middle. You can't focus on how do you win because there is no winner or a loser. You know what I'm saying? If you're fighting each other and you're like, and I was right, and you end up on the couch, or or worse, you end the relationship, you lost, right? And so I think that as men, we have to be open to the idea that this is something that we're not always good at. Somebody made a point, and I'll stop talking. If somebody made a point the other day about how women need to change who they are, otherwise they're going to end up alone, 80 years old and alone. And here's the reality. If anyone is in danger of ending up alone, it's men. And I'll explain why. Women are really good at bonding with other women. My wife has made friends with women in the bathroom. Just went to the bathroom, came out with somebody's number. All right, girl, we're going to brunch. All right. I'm like, who is that? I don't know. I just met in the bathroom. I like the shoes. I have men in my circle that I've known for years, and I still don't know them. I mean, we talk about sports, we talk about golf, we talk about the military, but when it comes right down to it, we don't have a bond, not one that would sustain one of us if we were to, be out and down and out and everything like that. Not only that, the choices that men make in life cause our lives to be cut a lot shorter than women do. So if anyone should be focused on a life partner in the winter season of their lives, it's men, not women. They're good. So I say all that to say that not that women are better than men or vice versa, but we got to get rid of all of this peripheral nonsense, all of these silly things that we focus on, like who eats first, and if I fly you out, should you do this? And no, just focus on the person that you're focused on, and go from there. And close your ears to anyone who is speaking ill of your relationship and that does not have a vested interest in your success. If you're not here to watch me succeed, then thank you for your input, but move along.
Dope. I like that. For real. When I think about relationships, I'm like, it's like figuring it out. You got to try to figure out how to serve up these things, how to accept these things, how to reason these things, how to resolve, how to address all this, how. And if you're not one to speak about it from a place of truth, because that's where we fail as men. We don't know what to do and how to share these emotions, these thoughts. The idea of being able to be vulnerable. Vulnerable means to put yourself in a place and space where you're unsafe and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it, with the hopes that the other person will care enough to step in and do something with it. That's it. Or just to be present. Because sometimes, as Tony Massey said, sometimes there's nothing they can do for you but to be present.
Yeah. So
relationships are fun because you're putting yourself in a position to hear some truths or hear a perspective that you've never taken on before. As I tell you before, over and over again, nurturing is what? Loving another person into new possibilities. So all your past relationships and the things that you've gone through, don't just go about doing the opposite to make sure that this new one works. No, because opposite might be exactly, as Tony said, exactly what that person needs. Exactly. So you're constantly at the place of let me figure out. And talk about it. So when you're trying to figure out or you go about doing it, she's aware of it. So like, hey, babe, don't take offense. I'm just trying something new on you. Trying something new on you, baby.
Let's make room for. He's been pretty quiet most of the show, but Tony Massey Jr., who's in the middle of the screen right there, he's been chilling. This is good though, gentlemen. Like I keep saying because he looked like he's looking at me. He just sitting there. So yeah, this conversation I think has been amazing, and I think like once we realize, men and women that love is we're individuals, but it's a thing that grows, it lives, it breathes, and it changes over time. And when you honor your commitment to that and to each other, then you can both grow with it. Because people always talk about, we fell in love and then over time we changed and we it's just the love just kind of went away. And it's kind of like if you aren't consistently checking the pulse, it will get away from you because you're not connected anymore. So the key is in love, in relationships, in life, if you build a connection outside of some egregious, craziness, that connection is something that you have to consistently check on to make sure that you're good and you're there. And the love sustains, it helps sustain it over time. But how do you even know if you're still in love if you're not even communicating? How do you even know where it is? How does it grow? How does it even if it doesn't grow, how does it even stay where it is if you're not even talking about it?
Well, there is no stay as
it is. And seeing, like we talked about this show about trying to read someone's mind. And I say this a lot on my shows. How can you be in a marriage or a long-term relationship with somebody that you're afraid to talk to? That's it. That's all I got to say.
Well, John, it's you're hosting, and we've barely heard from you, sir. Can you please interject your feelings on love, sir?
That is non-factual, sir. You have heard plenty from me. That is non-factual, sir. You're not going to get up here and disrespect my name. No. We've been having a. If there's a basketball team, we've been having a pick and roll between Tony Massey and Gunner Man, and they've scored about 27 straight points. So sometimes you gotta ride the hot hand, man. You know what I mean? But when we talk about that, man, we got to get rid of that peripheral noise. Like all of these other conversations about, and Tony said it, who got flued out, just who pays for what, who does this. That's peripheral noise. And that's not the focus. That's not where it is. And I can't speak for everybody else on it because we've said this several times, it's not men, it's who you with. But for me, when we talk about love, I want it. I feel the absence of that romantic love in my life. It's real. And it's a desire for me. And, there's a lot of things that go on. Like a young lady put the movie up, The Notebook. I've never seen The Notebook. I hear it's sappy, love story, whatever. I've never seen it. But, I may not want to go out and see one of those movies, but I want that love. I want, to feel valued. I want that. And then when we talk about, because life is hard, man. You know what I mean? And I think that, Tony said it when it's not always good, but sometimes when you've gone through that with somebody, that's where the treasure is, because we know that sometimes life is just hard, it just sucks, and you've gone through it. And when somebody stands by you, when you don't have all the stuff that you want to offer, you don't have all of the things that you feel like make you the best version of yourself. And when
Yes.
somebody has stood next to you through all of that, and you can look and say, this person was with me, you know, for me, that's the difference, man. And you know, do I want the beautiful stuff and the wedding ceremony? I mean, that's cool. They're kind of expensive, but you know, but at the end of the day, man, I want that, you know, to be loved, to know that somebody went, man, I ain't trying to toot my own horn, but the good times gonna be good, but the bad times, you know, they real, and to have somebody that's with you through all of that, I think that that's where we get it messed up, because we want to look at what a relationship looked like when it was good, but a real relationship, you need to judge it on how strong it was when it wasn't good. And when I study couples that have been together 20, 30, 40 years, they always talk about a period of time where they fall back in love with each other because of everything that's happened, what they built, and having a connection that went beyond just all the sweet stuff, man. So when we talk about love, I mean, I don't want it to be ugly, but I do want it to be battle tested, you know. That's what's important to me right there. Can we go to war together, and then, you know, after we come through that, we still got a whole functioning unit? So that's really what's important to me when I think about love. And y'all fellas, man, y'all been chopping this serious lumber. I'm just sitting back enjoying the show, man. I almost forgot I was in the show. It was so good.
Here's something I want to say real quick. Please, and this might sound, and I need you really to take this with as much grain of salt as you possibly can take it. Stop saying men and women are different. Stop saying that. Because there are 7 billion plus people on the planet, right? Let's say 1 billion of them all want a certain type of love. That's a group of men and women who want that thing. There are women who are disconnected to their emotions just as men are. So when you say men and women are different, you are now stripping apart the humanity of both species. You're saying women can only be this thing and men can only be that thing. Stop saying that. We are not different. At the core of our values, we all want the same thing. Somebody's to protect, love us, and be and have our back. My man Tony Massey's, you know, just for the word that people throw out there, is an alpha male. Right? He just shared with us a situation where he couldn't be an alpha male because he needed somebody to grab him and hold him and say, it's all right. If you tell that story on a different platform, oh, he's a simp, oh, he's weak, he's this, that, and the other. Stop saying he was just so vulnerable with us, and he's being vulnerable with hundreds and thousands of people that he don't even know. So stop saying men and women are different. We're not different. We basically want the same thing, but we have been groomed to move in different spaces, in different arenas. So we have to really concentrate on, I'm dealing with an individual, and every time I step in front of somebody, this is a whole different person. And they might want the same exact things I want. But I'm not going to get to know that if I've already put labels on who they are.
I think Tony Massey said it during the Gunter Man show last Thursday. That list that you make up, that list that you make up on what you want God to provide you with is a list that limits God from bringing you what you exactly truly need in life and in a partner. Rip up your list. Rip up those lists that you are sitting there writing all your preferences on what you think is right for you. No. You know, make a decision. If you want someone that's into the word of God, pick that and let that be your foundation. But everything else, come to learn, gather data, find out, because you will discover a way of love and a being that you never even fathomed. It blows away all the examples that you've had in the past on what you think proper love is. You know, that's what you want. You want to be blown away, because all those lists, a man is this and a man can't be doing that. And this is all that stuff is, trust me in this. If you were to get those things that you demand, it'll never satisfy you. It'll never meet your core needs. Never meet your core needs. especially if you don't feel respected, if you don't feel safe. And as Tony Massey said over and over again, the word talks about, I think it's 4 different times where the word tells the man to love your wife, to love your wife, to love your wife. That means a man has to drive his mind to be very on top of things, on his displaying and showing of love and showing up for her. That's important. And a woman isn't told to love. Only I think one time really the word talks about to love your husband, but it's mainly talking about that respect, keeping that respect, that submission is not like under a dictator, but that submission is that loving obedience with the proper arrangement and deliberate decision. That's what you do. That's what submission is. Loving obedience with the proper arrangement and a deliberate decision on what works for you guys together. That's what it is. That's what who wouldn't want to submit to that? Because that's we as followers of the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what we're doing for him. I've been bought with a price. I can't go about doing what I think is right for me. No, he's my savior. He tells me what's right and what's wrong. I got to keep going to him. And if I'm going to keep going to him, you better believe that I want someone else that's willing to fight for me the same way in my life. So those little things that you want, those little the social media preferences will never, ever meet your core needs, even if it was given to you exactly the way you prefer it.
Well, Rick, let me jump in real quick and just give the exact verse that comes from. That's Ephesians 5:28. So listen carefully. The New Translation Version says, "In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself."
Amen.
And I love that. That goes back to what we talked about last week when men aren't showing up, fatherless homes and stuff like that. If you don't understand how to love and how to give that up and how to basically love yourself, then how are you going to love somebody else? Right? So like Rick said, in the word, there's verses where the man is given this whole responsibility to love in a certain way. This whole responsibility not to beat her up, not to step on her. The word says, love your wife as God loves, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. It doesn't tell the woman to do that. It doesn't tell the woman to give yourself up for the man. It just says the woman should love her husband as the church loves Christ. It said to die for him. So if you look at the relationship wise, right? Christ died for your sins regardless if you're going to sin or not. You can show up as someone in the congregation and make a misstep, but Christ is still going to love you. How many men are out there really to do that without me calling a simp, a punk, and all that other stuff? You know what I mean? So when you talk about love on that particular level, it's way deeper than we're capable of being vulnerable enough to accept. And we have to get to that space where we can be vulnerable enough. And I know there's some people out there, because we had them last week, said it. What if I don't have a belief in God or in Christ? And that's okay. You know, unfortunately, you know, I'm a minister. I'm a believer in Christ, and I'm Christ all day. But if you don't have that solid foundation of where the foundational scripture lies, or where or that higher than I thing is, right? Your relationship will be based on I am the highest thing in my relationship. If you are the highest thing in your relationship, that means your partner is your servant. So you either come to terms where you come to a balance where you and your partner are equal, right? And that says something, because when you love somebody, there's a vertical relationship, there's a horizontal relationship. Christ is the horizontal part of the relationship, so that you can meet and everybody goes to the point. But if you're both on a vertical plane, somebody's going to be here, somebody's going to be there, and you can't really balance that out, because ego and everything else is going to overturn that. I'm not saying it can't work, but it's hard to work. Because how are you going to be selfless if you're the most powerful thing in a relationship? Just want to leave that out there.
Wow.
All right, Singletary. This show, yeah, you.
We almost at an
Take us
hour
home,
and a half.
baby. Take us home.
Oh, y'all want me to
Take us
close
home.
it down? Let's shut it down. No, I'm just kidding. You're right. We are getting close to an hour and a half. I was going to give y'all a little bit more because y'all was speaking to my heart. So, man, I was trying to get some more. But since Derek Jones don't want me to get no more food for my soul, he over here hating and stuff. Haters. But yeah, since we're getting close to the wrap up, man, let's all give parting thoughts, and then obviously, man, I'm tripping. I got to give y'all opportunity to shout out your platforms and how we can all be blessed by this knowledge that y'all are spitting more often than just here. So, man, let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, Tony 1 Million Watts.
You on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm Tony A. Watson. I'm the host of Triumphant TV. Triumphant TV was put together to bring all aspects of life into existence, to highlight the Black excellence that is us. We have survived a lot of things. We have done an amazing amount of things that are not just athletics, that are not just entertainment. We are corporate execs. We are amazing people that do amazing things. Like, we have people in our community that do 9 to 5s and are also dedicating their lives to recreation centers and homeless shelters and feeding people on a daily basis. And I think it's my job to highlight those people. Also, I do a lot of mental health work in that aspect on my show to talk about those things. And I think it's very important that we put that out there. So follow me on IG at I am Tony A. Watts, or just jump onto YouTube, and that's Triumphant TV. It's the one with the white lettering, because there's a couple of them out there, but just the white lettering, you'll see me there. And for my parting information, I would say this. I heard this thing before, and if you haven't heard it, this is the 4 things that keep a relationship together. They say it is attention, attraction, affection, and acceptance. You can do those 4 things, your relationship will never fall apart. And I will add to a caveat to that is continue dating your spouse.
Yes.
Continue dating your spouse. Whatever you did when you first met them, wherever you met them at, continue doing that. And when there becomes a break in that situation, stop, sit down, have the hard conversations, because life happens. But if you're not having the hard conversations to what happened, you're going to get lost, and there's going to be years going by, and there's relationship gumbo. My man Derek had an amazing, he had me in tears when he said he had a podcast about the ghost in your home. It's the life that I currently live. So I was like, oh my God. So if you guys can go back and listen to that particular podcast, he's going to give you some really good stuff. And continue to get to know each other. Continue to get to know each other. Be ready, really willing and able to allow your partner to change if they're going to change. Like, real quick before I get out of here, one of the most impactful things that I've heard for 2020 was there was a story of a grandfather talking to his grandson. And his grandson said, "Hey, Grandpa, how have you and Grandma stayed together for so long? They've been together for 60 plus years." He said, "Over the 7 to 8 times Grandma has changed, all I did was love the person she became. I never tried to change it back to who she was." That's important. If you can do that and do the other 4 things I gave you, your relationships will never break down. Thank you.
All right. And on my screen, the next person is Brother Derek Jones of the Relationship Gumbo podcast. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. I'm going to say my parting words first, and then I'll tell you how to find me. Because I conveniently typed the website in where my name goes. so here's the thing, right? And this is kind of touching on a little bit of what Tony Watts spoke about earlier. We don't come with an instruction manual, right? So when we meet people and we want them to love us, they don't have the manual. So first, you have to figure out how to love you so that you can understand how to show someone else how to love you back. If you don't have that, everybody's shooting in the dark. And that's where all of that confusion comes in, because you shouldn't have to go through trial and error trying to tell someone what you like. You own that. That's who you are. If you don't know, and I believe there's a lot of us, if not most, that don't even know how to answer the question, who am I? But you want someone else to come in and love your toenail clippings and you don't even know who you are. So you're going to fight. You're going to have all of this discord because you don't even know how to tell them what you want. We got to start there. Love you first. You got to figure out how to get that peace of mind. Once you love you, then you probably will be more apt to be vulnerable to someone else. So I'm gonna land my plane there. And and you can find me at relationshipgumbo.info. The Relationship Gumbo podcast airs every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So if you go to that website, it'll direct you everywhere you need to go with all the social media. And I'm just I champion love. I champion relationships. I champion all the things that we're starting to human connection, right? I champion all of that, and that help people find those little details, those little tweaks that you can kind of turn a little knob, and it'll change the trajectory of your whole relationship, and you can get into a place of making better decisions. So that's what I do, and that's it. That's all. We're gonna let whoever's next go.
He said, "That's it. That's all." Plane landed. All right. Next, we have the man that came in and gave us our sermon for this evening. Rick Gunner. Soapbox, stand up and talk. Come on now.
Man, what's up, guys? Leaving thoughts. When it comes to relationships, always understand that it begins and ends with you. So the gift that you can give to yourself is to endeavor to show yourself integrity, which is kind of hard. Meaning what you say and saying what you mean and following through to a particular goal is achieved. Because when you get into a relationship, what you're going to expect from the other person is for them to show you integrity and for you to be able to trust them. But if you haven't done that for yourself, how in the world would you ever imagine someone else being able to do that for you? So the question becomes now, how do I receive a love that matches me? I receive it by what? Showing myself love, showing myself genuine integrity, continuing to follow through and showing the consistency that it takes to allow me to receive or to manifest or to operate at a frequency that I prefer. You are going to attract exactly what you put out. Like it or lump it, like it or love it, however that saying goes, you're going to attract what you put out. So why not come from a place of real trust in yourself, a real genuine preference and care for yourself in the form of integrity, showing up and meaning what you say and doing it and operating from that place over and over again, because then it becomes a lot easier for you to imagine receiving it from someone else. And then the last part of love is you being able to pay attention close enough to the other individual that you can figure out ways to share your thoughts, your hopes, your desires, your dreams, your passions, your concerns, your longings in a way that the other person can receive it. Because that's what it is you loving them, is you allowing them to receive love according to what works for them, not you just demanding that you accept love the way I love. No, that's not love. We are not evil dictators. Our mindset is to nurture to these new possibilities that allow you to see things that you have never imagined in a loving relationship, in a connection, in a desire that you have for another person. Yes, sex can be amazing. It's mind-blowing at times. But when it comes down to the core of who you are, sex only becomes amazing when the heart is met, when your head is at peace. As Tony Watts said, that joy, that state of being And then that peace, that sound, that lack of doubt, worry, or fear is what peace is, and that's what you long for. And of course, you guys can all find me at the Gunter Man Show, Instagram, Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. You know, I'm a relationship life coach, so if you ever look for someone that you're looking for someone to kind of talk you through some of these situations on how to find love or how to be the best version of yourself or to come from a place of love, talk with me. We'll go through all those details. I'll take you through. My life is all about relationship sessions, private sessions, video chats, and we'll journey together. We'll journey together to figure it all out. So once again, you can find me on Facebook at Rickoven, Gunter Man Gunter, Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. That's it. That's good enough for now. Peace. Thanks, guys. Love you.
He said, that's it. That's good enough, man. That's Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. I apologize. I said stand up and talk, but it's stand up and speak. And definitely support this brother. I take that back. You'll be blessed by that, brother. So, and last but absolutely not least, man, brother Tony Massey, take the floor, sir.
I feel like I'm coming into a basketball game. He stands at 5'9". No, this was a great show because it's something that I love to talk about. And I think Tony Watts made the best point tonight, in my opinion, one of the best points tonight. And that is when it comes right down to it, we're all looking for the same thing. You know, this whole idea of what men want, what women want. We all want to feel protected. We all want to feel loved. We all want to have the opportunity to express love in its full expression in a very safe place. Because at the end of the day, when you're no longer out in the street and you're tired of running and gunning and doing all that other stuff, sometimes you just want to sit at home and just be with someone that you're building with and that you feel safe with. And I think that's the core of it. But I'll say this, and I think this is something that needs to be said for the men out there who seem to be love seems to be evading them. Your fear is blocking your blessing, in my opinion. And I say that because you got to have faith that God is going to give you the desires of your heart. And the desires of your heart may not be in alignment with what's in your head. So you have to abandon this and allow God to work through this so that you can truly experience the full expression of love that you really desire. And just as in business, as in sports, as in all of the endeavors that men, take on, we're really good at focusing on the outcome and not worrying about the risk. You got to do the same thing with love. If it feels good, if she's there for you, every time you turn your head, she's right there giving you everything that you need and desire, then invest in her. Have faith that God is not going to bring you this far and then abandon you. And the last thing I'll say is your provisions will meet you along the way. So when you meet her on day one, she may not be perfect. Things may not be perfect. Your life may not be perfect. You may not be where you want to be. But if you take one step and just let God guide you, your ram in the bush is going to be there. I promise you. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to love. Even if it's thrown back in your face, all things are working for your good, including those things that you have envisioned as bad. So I really hope some of the men out here who and I'm not, again, we're talking about the men who really want love. We're not talking about men who are trying to manipulate women. We're not talking about men who are trying to, get something for nothing. We're talking about the men who have finally gotten to a point in their lives where, you know what, I'm ready to give of myself so that I can receive. Those men, don't be afraid of love. You can find me, Tony Massey Speaks, on Instagram, Tony Massey Cooks on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Come follow me. I think you'll really enjoy everything that I'm putting out there. And real quick, shout out to our guest producer this week, Rock. I mean, my man was on it. Every comment, he was throwing up little things that we talked about. I felt like I wanted to say something that was going to show up on the screen. Great job, Rock. I really appreciate you, brother.
Tony, real quick. Don't do that. You have the cooking event coming up shortly.
I do. So
give me dates and times for that.
I'm still collecting names. July the 10th is what I'm shooting for. A live cooking event where you can find all the info on my page, Tony Massey Cooks, where you sign up. I'll send you a list of ingredients and we'll cook the whole meal together. I did it before. It was a lot of fun. Again, Tony Massey Cooks for all of the particulars. Shoot me a DM. Let me know that you're interested. I'll send you out a packet and get you the code to get into the cooking show. Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, July 10th.
Real quick, for those out there dating, this would be an awesome dating night.
Great date night
for you to go to get the food, get the big screen on, get Tony Massey on the screen and watch him cook. Those who in marriages, come home that night, have the ingredients ready. Tell the wife to just to get the bottle of wine and sit down and make that happen. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. My man gets down.
I appreciate that.
Hey man, Tony Watson's a bully. Don't do that. That's how he talk to me all the time, man. Hey, listen, I will really close this out real quick. Man, understand that no matter what, you are worthy of love. And let it start there. There's a series I'm gonna start working on. If we remember the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, anybody know the Island of Misfit Toys? And the basic premise was that even though they weren't like the other toys, they still deserve to be loved and valued. And sometimes we feel like we're from the Island of Misfit Toys, but that's not the case. And we all deserve to be loved. So let that love start with ourselves and then share that love with the world. Love is a gift, and the gift is no good until it's given away. So we've got to make sure that we share that love that's within us. LJ, come here, baby. Come here. This has been a great time. You gonna come over this side or this side? I don't know if you can get through here. Let me introduce everybody to my co-pilot.
What's up, nephew?
Everybody.
What's up, nephew? What's going on, nephew?
That's my co-pilot. Look, we've had an amazing time. I'm so grateful to these gentlemen for allowing me to be a part of this collective, the four Avengers and me, the Water Boy. So thank y'all so much for letting me be a part of the team. But I'm going to close out like I always close out here on the Help Myself podcast. Listen, I can't help myself. I've got to inspire. I've got to encourage. I've got to empower. But I can help myself by being the absolute best version of myself. And you can too. So why not we do it together? Rock, take us out, bro.